Planning Board meeting for January 8th, 2024, and in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231. Adequate notice of this regular meeting of the Planning Board of the Township of Franklin has been provided. And if everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so Pete has already administered the oath of office when people were coming in, so he did that already. So everybody can, is here. For the reorganization, I guess we can start with that before we start roll call. Is that right, Pete, or no?
You can do roll call first.
Do roll call first?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and now this system, I have to hit something every single time I talk, so sorry about that. Okay.
Well, you don't hit me.
Well, no, I'm not going to hit you. Okay, so Theodore Chase.
Here.
Bob LaCourt.
Here.
Shaw Keller.
Here.
Mahir Rafiq.
Here.
Charles Brown.
Here.
Mark Dancy.
Here.
Chairman Orsini.
Here.
And for the record, Councilman Ann Barson, Jennifer Ragnow, Robert Thomas, and Rebecca Hilbert all asked to be excused this evening. And Shaw Keller is the newest member to our planning board.
Yeah, and I wanted to say welcome to Shaw, and I think you'll have a fun time here. You have some interesting stuff in the year ahead, which we'll get to today. So reorganization. The nomination, selection of chairperson. So theoretically, I shouldn't be necessarily talking, but we'll open the floor for nominations.
I'll second it.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are closed. And Christine, can you call the roll?
Theodore Chase.
For Mike Orsini.
Bob LaCourt.
Yes.
Shaw Keller. Yes. Mahir Rafiq.
Yes.
Charles Brown.
Yes for Mike.
Mark Dancy. Yes. And can he vote for himself or? Yes. Okay. Chairman or Michael Orsini?
No, I mean, yes.
We like it when if they don't vote for themselves, it gets a little sketchy.
Yeah, so I thank you, everyone. And in the new system, believe it or not, you can go back and click on your name and find out how many terms you've had. And apparently the years have passed faster than I gave them credit for. Because I think I became chairman in 2010 or something like that.
Yeah, when I was elected to council.
Yeah. So, and then that's right, because you were chair before me. And then I've been on the planning board since I think 2002. I started as an alternate.
I think, yeah.
And regular member. And so what are we looking at? Maybe 23 years? Makes me actually old. Yeah. But yeah, I've had a great time, and it's funny because Bob Thomas and I think we've both been approached, right? Maybe you want to run for council, you want to throw your name in the hat, and we're of like mind. We both have a good time on our boards, and we don't want to resign, and I think you learn a lot here, and you can have a very positive impact on the township. So I am thrilled to continue in that role. Much the same, I would like to nominate man to my right, who does an excellent job filling in when I'm not around, and has been a great member of the planning board, Mr. Charles Brown.
I will second.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. Christine?
Theodore Chase.
Yes.
Robert LaCourt.
Yes.
Shaw Keller.
Yes.
Mahir Rafiq.
Yes.
Charles Brown.
Yes for Charles.
Mark Dancy.
Yes.
And Chairman Orsini.
Yes, for my vice chair, please. All right. For planning board attorney. So the planning board attorney, we have, as I understand, one firm, that is Clarkin and Vignolo. And so there are no other nominations.
Well, Mike, just for the record, we did get two. Mm-hmm. Both firms were notified, but
only one is here.
only one is here.
Okay, so then we have one. because if they don't want to show up, they probably don't want it that bad. If the board has any questions for Peter, as an interview, I mean, we all know his work. I don't have any, but I'll throw it open to the board if the board has any questions.
Have you been disbarred in the last year?
I have not.
Oh, there you go.
I am still licensed to practice law, as is my partner, Jim Clarkin. You know,
Has your knowledge of land use and planning law degraded in the last 12 months?
if anything, it is increased. It's been enhanced by my opportunities, especially in the Township of Franklin.
Wow, that's a good answer.
All right, so I obviously, Jim and Pete have been with us for a number of years. We obviously have the, affordable housing lift this year, revisions to the master plan and elements of the master plan, and they're very experienced. And, even if there was another firm here, I would argue that changing horses in midstream, especially a very qualified firm, is not advisable. So I would nominate Clarkin and Vignola for planning board attorney.
Second.
Christine?
Okay, Theodore Chase,
Yes.
Bob LaCourte,
Yes.
Shaw Keller, Mahir Rafiq,
Yes.
Charles Brown,
Yes.
Mark Dancy, and Chairman Orsini.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Peter. So we already did the roll call, so we know he's here. So we just have to go through these spate of minutes. So,
Actually, if I could,
do you need to swear yourself in or have Mark
I need to
witness?
swear Mark in. So
Oh, okay. Well,
I
let's.
could swear Mark in quickly. So
Oh, yeah, it said witness oath, Director of Planning. I
there
thought.
we go. So, do you swear that any testimony you provide during this calendar year will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And just for the record, your planning license is still valid and in good standing?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional planner in New Jersey and a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners.
Perfect, thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Mark. Or thanks, Pete, and thank you, Mark. So minutes. First set would be regular meeting of October 16th, 2024. And Christine, I know you'll let us know who can vote on these.
Okay, so the only people who can vote for October 16th is Theodore Chase and Charles Brown. October 16th, sorry.
Mr. LaCourte, I have present.
Did I miss him? I did, you're right.
No worries.
Okay.
So will you fight it out? Who wants to make a motion?
Go ahead, Charles.
I'll make a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes for October 16, 2024.
I'll second.
Okay, so Bob LaCourte. Charles Brown
Yes.
and Ted Chase.
Yes.
Okay. Regular meeting for November 6th. Who can participate in this?
For November 6th, it is just Theodore Chase, Robert LaCourte, Mahir Rafiq, Charles Brown, Mark Dancy, and Chairman Orsini.
Oh, that's a pretty good lineup. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Theodore Chase,
Yes.
Robert LaCourte,
Yes.
Mahir Rafiq,
Yes.
Charles Brown,
Yes.
Mark Dancy, Chairman Orsini.
Yes. And last but not least, the regular meeting for December 4th, 2024.
Theodore Chase, Mahir Rafiq, Charles Brown, Chairman Orsini.
I'll move to approve.
Seconded.
Theodore Chase,
Yes.
Mahir Rafiq,
Yes.
Charles Brown,
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Resolution of 1231 Properties, LLC, PLN 23-00024. You can participate in this exercise.
Theodore Chase, Robert LaCourte, Charles Brown, and Mike Orsini.
I will move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Theodore Chase,
Yes.
Robert LaCourt,
Yes.
Charles Brown,
Yes.
Mike Orsini.
Yes. So there was 3 discussion items. So the first one was a application before the Minor Subdivision Committee, which Meher and I attended with Mark earlier tonight. It's for 179 Cedar Grove Lane. It is a flag lot subdivision, fully compliant, as it must be, to be before the Minor Subdivision Committee, even with the more constrictive buffers and a lot area that flag lots require. And so we would make a recommendation to approve this, and Mark will tell us a few things about the property that during the subdivision committee we agreed that we should specifically note.
Yeah, and actually, for the record, the Minor Subdivision Committee approves it. This is a reporting to the board.
Yes.
So their board is aware of your action. Yeah, but bottom line, I'm not going to repeat what the chairman just summarized. Bottom line is there was staff reports with a number of different recommendations. The main recommendations that the subcommittee approved as conditions was that the limit of disturbance needs to be as reflected on the plan that was submitted, because a good portion of the rear of the site is proposed to remain undisturbed. So the committee wanted to retain that. They need to address certain ordinance requirements like the tree ordinance and the stormwater ordinance, all of which the applicant will have to address at the time of building permit. So the committee recommended approval, or not recommended, approved it, subject to all of the terms in the TRC report.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, that was basically it. And you know, one of the things, just so the board is aware, their limit of disturbance was quite conservative. But we took their word for what was on the plan. And should they need to clear more than that, they will have to come back to the Minor Subdivision Committee. But otherwise, it was a compliant application, so we approved it.
And they, I assume that it will be when they come back to build something that we discuss compliance with the tree ordinance.
So the tree ordinance, they'll have to comply with that straight up, you know, for their limited disturbance. And if they disturb any more, they're going to have to comply with either payment in lieu or replanting on site, whether they disturb what they say they're going to disturb or disturb more. It won't be bad, but yeah.
Okay, so they are proposing at this point to take down some trees?
Some, and you know, Marcus, in his planning opinion, thought they may have to do a little bit more because of some dry wells and things. But we're going to hold them to the plan. The resolution is going to say, your plan is, you know, if they think they can build within that limit, that's great. They don't have to take those trees down. If they do, there's going to have to comply with an increased obligation.
Just at the Environmental Commission, we had some discussion of the fact that the plan as submitted didn't discuss tree removal and tree replacement.
Yeah, they're going to have to. They're going to have to comply
That
with
will
that.
come up later.
Yep. Turn it over to Mark for a little update on redevelopment study.
No, they don't do. So I'm going to bring up my computer here, see if I can get this done correctly. Oh, clerk station, that's what I need to do. So as the board is aware, and I think at the last meeting, I gave, based on some questions from the chairman, an overall overview of the fact that the town, like most of the towns in New Jersey, had been provided an affordable housing obligation, and we're in the beginning stages of figuring out, frankly, how we're going to address that. The first part of that is there's an opportunity to review the number that they gave us, and we're going to be, most likely the council is going to be adopting a resolution accepting a number lower than what the state gave us. But then in the months following, between now and June 30th, the township needs to adopt a plan indicating how we're going to address the obligation. The one thing that, and what's on after this is appointment of an affordable housing subcommittee. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. And the council is also going to be setting up, already has set up an affordable housing subcommittee. And the plan is to basically have those subcommittees meet collectively and talk about the different options for meeting the obligation. One of the things that we're addressing at the beginning here, because this is kind of a long process, is there's one portion of the town that the council has passed a resolution asking the planning board, and this is the way that the law works, to do a redevelopment study to see if certain properties qualify as an area in need of redevelopment. And the reason, and the properties that we're looking at are, so this, kind of looking at the screen, this is Franklin Boulevard, this is Hamilton Street with my cursor there. This is Franklin Boulevard. And if you're aware, there's that kind of derelict, I don't know how to say it, torn down, worn down office building on Franklin Boulevard and Lewis. There's the undeveloped or vacant property between Lewis and Martin. There's a boarded up house over here, on Martin, and a few other properties generally in this area. And we're looking at this as a possible site. I think there's probably going to be a few sites that we're going to have to include in our plan. But we're looking at this site kind of off the bat. There are a number of different bonus credits, if you will, for if you do affordable housing in redevelopment areas, if you do 100% affordable. So this is a site that we're kind of looking at as a potential site to help us meet our obligation. And since the redevelopment process takes a very long time, and we have until June 30th to do a plan, we wanted to kind of have the option to include this plan, in our affordable housing plan. The way that it works is that, again, the council does a resolution asking the planning board to do the study. We have a consultant that works for CME that's going to do the report and present that to you, and then you'll ultimately make the recommendation whether you want to recommend that area be designated as an area in need of redevelopment. And then what that does is, again, it basically gives the township a lot of control on how you wish this area to be redeveloped if you want to include this in the plan. Bottom line is, again, we really don't have a plan for this site yet. This is to just have the option to include it, is really the summary. So there's really nothing for you to do at this point. Peter, I don't think there's really any, the council did the resolution. There's really nothing for the planning board to do.
At this point, until the study's done and it's prepared and presented to the board and you have the hearing, there's really nothing for them to do other than be aware that it may be coming down the pike, and they should understand that that'll be something they're called upon to do. But then that study would be either accepted or not accepted by the board. They make their recommendation to the council. The council then takes action on it, and then once that's been done, assuming that it has been designated, then the plan's prepared, which allows them to make essentially ad hoc zoning standards for that property. It's the opposite of what people get concerned about, which is spot zoning. It's about the only time you can actually make site-specific standards for particular properties. Yep.
So, so that's basically it. That's really kind of an FYI for the board.
So let's just throw it open to the board to see if anybody has any questions or any concerns.
Do we have a number?
The number that the state gave us is 714.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, we're looking at that number was based on a number of different factors, including the state's identification of vacant land. I'm in the process right now of evaluating their identification. There is a number of properties that are indeed not vacant and developable, so we expect that number to be lower.
Like when they GIS map something like to a detention basin and say, oh, that's open, or if it's open space and they're not aware, because according to Mark, they had very little time to actually do the GIS mapping, so
And when they do on a statewide basis. So there are definitely, so that number will be lower. And as we move through the process, obviously we'll, with the subcommittee and at the appropriate time through the process, we'll have updates with the planning board. It's not going to be 625 new units necessarily. We are exploring, you can do up to 25% of your obligation can be in the form of bonus credits. So we're obviously going to explore that. There are other things like extending controls where if there's an existing affordable housing unit, and if you're able to negotiate with the owner of that development and extend it for those affordable controls for another period of time. So we're going to explore that. We can't promise that. Obviously, it's up to that's a kind of a negotiation with those owners of those complexes. But that was, my opinion, that would be a wonderful thing. It's kind of a win-win. Those affordable units stay affordable without having to create new units. So we're definitely going to explore that pretty aggressively early on. And, as we hopefully make some progress on some of these different things, we'll keep the board, up to date where we are.
Yeah, and so overall, my approach has been to sort of ask Mark to, do the work necessary without any necessary, interference politically or any other way, to just do the work necessary in the facts. And then as we know the facts, to roll them out to the board for discussion. Because, ultimately, we will approve this plan. It is part of, council obviously has to do any rezoning or whatever based on our recommendations, but ultimately this falls squarely in our wheelhouse. And, of course, council has to do some things as well. And obviously we want to be, in harmony with council. We don't want to be working at cross purposes. But, again, just keeping any crosstalk out of the process as much as possible and kind of focusing on the facts at hand, letting planning professionals do the planning, generally results in a pretty good outcome. So that's kind of what I'm...
Yeah, and that's really the first part of the process is that identification of vacant land. But there will have to be decisions made by the planning board and the council. And that's why we form those subcommittees, so that can, that discussion can be kind of worked out, and then as necessary, and the full board and full council need to make decisions, we'll, bring those to those bodies.
So that's an excellent segue to the last thing, which is an affordable housing subcommittee. So, Mark, council is forming an affordable housing subcommittee.
Can I ask a question
go
before
ahead.
I go to that?
Oh, of course.
Are
Sorry.
there any other areas in Franklin that are being considered other than this?
We've had, I'll just say we've had, this is the one where the township, because of the condition, I think because of its location, near Hamilton Street, near existing affordable housing, and because of the condition of some of these properties, it certainly meets the definition for redevelopment. I don't think anybody could say particularly that one building is not blighted. So, that's the area, that's the one area that the township has identified at this point of, okay, this is a site that we should be looking at. And that's basically as far as we've gotten.
Yeah, and let's be the one reason we need to be, probably I don't want your question answered in public, is because with property owners become aware of this type of thing, then weird stuff can happen. So when the council actually makes a determination that something is in need of redevelopment like this area, and they refer it to us, that's when we can kind of talk about it in public.
Yeah.
But I would not speculate as to other areas.
I'm not. In
I
fact,
know you wouldn't.
my
but I want to
answer
explain
my
to the
answer
mayor
was
why
going to be.
You're not going to get an answer.
My answer is, we've had other developers who said, "Hey, we'd love to help you," and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question also, Mark. I'm a fan of affordable housing, but redevelopment and affordable housing aren't necessarily, synonymous with one another. So what do you do about the concern of concentrating now affordable housing in that part of town, given the Hamilton Street business corridor, the revitalization that's happening there, and what that can mean in terms of the adverse impacts of making that decision?
Well, my answer to that would be that you're not the first to bring that up. I think that is going to be one of the issues that the council, the planning board, and its subcommittees are probably most likely going to be looking at. what is the best distribution, if you will, of affordable housing throughout the township. I think you could understand that, there are certain areas of the town, like this area, where it is there is better access to public transportation as opposed to using extreme Canal Road, or access to local services, shopping, things like that. But then again, you have to balance it with, okay, let's not put it all in one area. So what I would suggest is, I think the chairman's going to ask for volunteers to be on the subcommittee. He's asking for volunteers, so.
And Charles makes an excellent point. I mean, we probably do want to see other areas. That said, it doesn't make. So, I mean, I'm all for affordable housing as well, and the township's done an excellent job. But there is theory and there's reality, and the reality is that putting, I don't know, an affordable or 20% affordable or some development out on Copper Mine Road, for example, just to use something, is probably not the best planning alternative, right? You want development, and whether it's affordable or not, quite frankly, you want residential development to be, and I know this was, Charles, near and dear to your heart, walkable, right, accessible to public transportation, accessible to services. And some people say, oh, well, you're concentrating it. That in a part of town that is, maybe lower income than, say, Griggstown or Canal Walker or someplace where you find glass houses and mansions. But that's not the case here. It's just a plan. It's just sound planning. We are not. We brought this up actually. We're having a sidebar at the minor subcommittee. Short Hills. What is their obligation? Do they have it? And they actually do. But I mean, those are communities back in the day. And Ted will remember this, and I'm sure Pete does, and Bob, I'm sure you do, where you could trade, right? You could say, I don't want anything in Franklin, but Camden, Newark, Jersey City were receiving areas, right, for affordable housing. They got a lot of money. They could revitalize, right? And towns like Short Hills and Sawman and maybe Basking Ridge or someplace where, Far Hills, where they have the races and stuff, would get out of their entire of affordable because they're a sending area to a receiving area. So obviously people got wise to what we're trying to do, and they can't do that anymore. And then coal got abolished, and we have this new framework. But there was a time when that was actively happening, and that's not what we're about.
You buy your way out.
Oh, absolutely, and many towns did, but those days are over.
Regional contribution agreement.
There you go, RCA. No. So, to the last matter at hand, council will have an affordable housing subcommittee, as will we, and we will hopefully meet at the same time so we can all sing Kumbaya.
As soon as Tuesday evening, by the way.
So, yeah, I guess I'm free. I think as chair, I definitely need to be on it. Maher, I asked her at the minor subcommittee. So we have two. We have only a max of 4. Other volunteers that are here today? I was thinking of you, but I just wanted to give you a chance. But yes,
It's not experience from several rounds.
Oh yeah, I like a distribution of folks because the folks that learn it ultimately they're on the board long enough they become Ted and me. But if you don't get a chance to learn it, then you're not. So anybody else? I think the obligation is going to be some meetings. It's not going to be a light lift. It's not going to be the heaviest lift in the world, but it is going to be worthwhile. And of course, it'll all come back to us as a board as a whole. So are any other volunteers? Bob LaCourte. Okay. So I think we have our.
On one because I have other committee used to be on.
I think we have our four. Well, the other person I was going to suggest or ask, and again, this kind of works against what I just said, was Bob Thomas. But I don't want to, again, he's not here. And of course, when you're not here, you get volunteered.
I'll defer to Bob.
But no, let's do it those four, and we can always have, as long as we don't have a quorum of 5 at any one place, we can have a quote an alternate. So like if you can't make it, Bob can do it. But I'd like to have some like variation. And, you know, so if somebody says, oh, well, I didn't realize it was that night, I can't do it, we'll ask for another volunteer. Well, yeah, well, I can't, I'm not going to volunteer, I'm going to go with who's here tonight, but then, yeah, there's some folks that are out that could potentially be interested. I don't know if Jen would, just because of her teaching obligations and whatever she does, but I don't know what night she'd be free. But we can always, we'll go with those 4 for now, and we'll go from there if that doesn't work. So that will be our subcommittee. So me, Maher, Ted, and Bob Lookworth. With anybody on deck or in the cleanup circle to be announced. We will have a meeting next week because we did not have a meeting, obviously, on New Year's Day. I think anybody would want to be here. So we do have one next week. And do I need to announce, Peter, the deferred hearings to a room that is empty? Or I don't think any other more further notice is required.
Yeah, just for the right, because, you know, someone were watching, they could understand.
All right, so Hamilton Street Management is carried to February 19th with no further notification needed.
And just for the record, that's PLN 24-00002, and it's carried to February 19th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. in this room.
Very good. Okay. And similarly, HSU Property Holdings, LLC, PLN 23-00014, is carried to April 2nd, 2025, with no further notification needed, and it will be at 7:30 p.m. in this room.
Thanks.
Okay, so your next meeting is Onyx, and it is going to be held at the Franklin Board of
Is
Education.
it next week?
The 15th.
I'm told them that. Oh well, I'll talk to Jim about that. We'll see. I want to hear from them. I don't want them just coming saying, "Oh, we're coming," because I'm not going to hear them.
Okay,
They need access and they need to work out Texas Eastern. Otherwise, we don't have a plan, and I hate my time being wasted.
Okay.
But also the board.
So if that happens and we have to cancel, then I'll send out the email
Yeah.
telling you it's canceled.
Yeah.
Shaw, I'll, you know, I know you're new here. You know where the Franklin Board of Education is on 27? It's a little bit past the soccer field, and I'll show you. But anyway, and it will be held there.
It's the only room big enough to.
Wait, let me read it into the minutes. I mean, not that I have to, but.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Oh, I don't have to. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, but it's the next meeting, just so you're aware. I'll make sure that it's on your email when it goes out, too, just to remind you.
So I'll talk to Jim. I'll call Jim tomorrow and see, because I already have told him, and he's more than agreed. So they may have told you, oh, we're ready to come, and that's fine and dandy. If they don't have Texas Eastern worked out, if they don't have access permission through Old New Brunswick Road, across from the ShopRite, which is not their access, then we don't have a plan. And I don't hear them until we have that plan. Because that's what I sent them away for back in, I don't know when it was, July or whatever, and I'll send them away again. So I don't want us to go all out there in the cold. And
Okay, you can just communicate to me and let me know. Mark and I, actually, just let Mark and I know.
Sounds
Okay?
good.
All right.
With that, I won't open the public session because there is no one here. Everybody can document that no one is here. So I will move to adjourn.
Second.
Well,
All in favor?
Using laptops,
Aye.
or will we bring the old Onyx plans that we have?